wrestling, I would say watching wrestling, the thing I remember most is the Iron Man match because, you know, Shawn Michaels was such a small guy, and I'm a small guy. You know, I mean, you see my pictures. I'm not a very big guy. I'm 6'3", you know, just around 225. I'm not big, you know, when you compare me to the guys like Triple H and Batista, I'm a small guy. But to see somebody like Shawn, who's small like me, actually win the title at a main event at WrestleMania, and, you know, I was like, maybe, at that point I was like, maybe I can actually make this happen. You know what I mean? So that was one of the most memorable things that I remember. And then just the emotion that was involved in that match, you know what I mean? Like, it's somebody who thought they were never going to make it because of their size, who had been doing it for so long, you know, that I can relate to that kind of emotion and that kind of work ethic to put in and then finally get what you want. I haven't been there yet, but I can imagine what it's going to feel like. And then the most memorable moment of my career so far was when, you know, the most emotional moment was when Rocky told me, hey, you know, I'm sending you to WWE, and I didn't believe him at first. It took him some convincing before I believed him, and I actually probably didn't believe him until the contract was in front of my face. So that was pretty intense.
Okay, sorry about this, but can I just quickly ask you a quick question about, do you think someone who's small in the business has more chance, you know, has little chance of, you know, making it nowadays, or do you think that if you're big, you got more chance? Say Batista got a more chance than, let's say, a small guy. Like, if you're big, you've got more chance of being a big, massive star than if you're small.
That's a double-sided question. I do think that the bigger guys have it easier because, you know, obviously, you know, Batista came into wrestling, what was he, you know, 35 when he started, you know, and he's been a multi-time world champion. And then you got guys like Jeff Hardy and CM Punk, you know, who now, I mean, and you know, Jeff Hardy's very small, you know, very small guy. CM Punk's not a big guy at all, you know, but they've both been world heavyweight champion too. So it's hard to say. But what I do think is smaller guys like myself have to work a lot harder. We have to do a lot more to get noticed. You know, for example, Jeff Hardy jumping off the Titantron. You know, guys like his size have to do more stuff like that, whereas Batista can do a spine buster, and it's just as impressive just because, at least to the brass, it's just as impressive because he's huge. You know, so I don't think if you're small, that means you're not going to make it. Obviously, you know, look at the guys, Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, Jeff Hardy. All those guys are small, and they all made it. But I do think that the bigger guys have an easier chance, like, you know, for example, John Cena. John Cena is very entertaining, but as far as his in-ring work, when you compare John Cena to, you know, CM Punk or Shawn Michaels, there's no comparison to in-ring work. But look how much longer it took guys like Shawn and CM Punk to get to a level that it took John Cena 3 years. It took them 10 to 15, you know what I mean? So I think smaller guys have to work a lot harder and do a lot more and be there a lot longer. You know, we basically have to make the crowd tell the company we want him to be the top guy, because they're not going to make us the top guy unless the crowd doesn't give him any other choice.
Okay, thanks, dude.
I have a question. Who do you think you emulate in the ring as in terms of your wrestling style? Because usually when I've watched some of your matches, it reminds me just of Shawn Michaels. Like, you have a similar move set.
Absolutely. That is, you know, Shawn was my inspiration to get into the business. You know, he is obviously, you know, I'm a smaller guy again, and you know, when you're a smaller guy, when you talk about psychology in the ring, there's a limited amount of things that, you know, if I'm 220 pounds and I'm fighting a guy that's, you know, 300 pounds, there's only a limited amount of moves that I can do to him that are going to be believable. You know what I mean? If I drop kick him in the face, yeah, he's going to fall. If I clothesline him and I'm 220 pounds and he's 300, it's not as believable that I'm going to knock him over with that unless I hit him with a bunch of other stuff first. So, you know, I take smaller guys like, you know, Punk, Hardy, Shawn Michaels. I keep saying the same three guys, but those are the guys that are similar to my size. You know, I take guys like them and, you know, do a lot of the stuff that they do because, you know, I'm a similar fighter. They're the same size as me. So, but as far as my inspiration in the business, it was, you know, just you can look at me and just know that Shawn Michaels was who was my inspiration to get into the business. But, you know, I try to put my own twist on things. You know, the only move of Shawn's I do is that elbow drop because that's for a personal reason. That is my favorite move in wrestling, period. Yeah, so I've always wanted to be able to make out one of my signatures too. And but Sean was a big part of it, you know. And I would say, as far as like guys that inspired me to actually go ahead and do it, be like the Ric Flairs and the Arn Andersons, just because of their, just their ability to control a crowd's emotions with what they do with their bodies. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just the business as a whole was just attractive to me. I mean, I wouldn't say that one person pushed me over the edge to go in and do it. I'd say it was the business as a whole. But you know, if forced to pick, then obviously you can see just by looking at me in the ring who my inspiration is.
Yeah, you do a lot like Shawn Michaels. We're going to get a caller to ask you a question. So.
Okay.
301.
Hey, whoa! Hey, don't say my number online, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan, how are you doing today, man?
Good, brother. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, and it's great for you to be on a show like this. I was just listening, and I heard you talking about, the smaller style guys like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels in that match at WrestleMania 12. That was a really inspirational match to me. And I feel like, a lot of people kind of, I don't know if they push that match to the side, and I'm talking about just like wrestling fans, like they don't remember like how important that was or how like momentous, because this was like the first time in a while, that a smaller guy was like wrestling at, at the main event level on the main stage. Besides maybe, a Bret Hart who won it, a few years earlier, or even like Macho Man, who was similar size. So I appreciate you bringing that up. But on the other hand, I feel that a lot of the bigger guys, like the Yokozunas, the King Kong Bundys, the Big Shows, and even, I know they're not as big, but the Dark City Fight Club, which in my opinion are probably one of the most underrated tag teams in the indies, or just in wrestling in general. They are very entertaining.
I appreciate you saying that, because those are my boys. I love those guys.
I do too, and their work is that I've seen from Ring of Honor and FIP has been very impressive. And so my question to you is, why do you feel, and I don't know if you feel this way, Ryan, but I feel this certainly, that a lot of the bigger guys, either in the WWE or even in the Ring of Honor circuit, don't really get as much praise or as notice, even like a Brody Lee type or a Hollow Wicked or just other like big guys, they don't get as much recognition, or I feel the way. So my question basically is, do you feel that way? And if you do, why do you feel that way?
So is your question that big guys, why do I feel that big guys aren't getting recognized? Or why do I feel that smaller guys aren't getting recognized?
No, bigger guys. Bigger guys, because I feel personally a lot of the smaller guys, they definitely, as of now, maybe not like back in maybe the 80s or even part of the 90s, but I feel like now, we've seen a lot of smaller guys like the CM Punk, like the Jeff Hardys kind of being pushed to the main event level, even though there are, of course, so many bigger guys.
I understand what you're saying now, and my answer to that simply is work rate. You got to understand something. You can take as a promoter and shove a wrestler down the crowd's throat, but if the crowd doesn't want to watch that wrestler, the crowd's going to either change the channel, or they're going to go get some popcorn, or they're just going to talk to the person sitting next to them and not pay attention to the match. The reason that a lot of the smaller guys now are getting pushed is, well, there's a couple reasons. One reason is that they're better workers than the bigger guys. Smaller guys can move more. We can do flashier stuff. We don't, it doesn't hurt as much when we hit the mat because there's not as much weight coming down. We have longer careers because we're not as big. And two, the population is getting smaller. The population of the United States isn't getting bigger. And the days of, being able to take certain things without, getting into that conversation, because that's not one I want to have. With the wellness policies and everything, I mean, you basically, you eat and you lift, and that's how you get bigger. There's no help anymore, you know what I mean? So, people are looking more natural, and they're being more natural, and, for example, I'm, like I said, it took me 5 years to get to 225 pounds, and I'm 6'3", and I'm still not as big as I want to be. I'd like to put 15 more pounds on, but I have to do it because of the way they test on it, and even in the independents now, I'm getting tested. People, they're testing for steroids, they're testing for painkillers, they're testing for stuff now, even on the independent circuit, more than they ever have, after all the situations that went on. So, we're getting smaller, and the big guys